We're back for our college football playoff predictions for round two of the CFP. We are now on to the quarterfinals with the final eight: Miami, Ohio State, Oregon, Texas Tech, Alabama, Indiana, Ole Miss, and Georgia. We will find the final four after this week of college football action. On top of that, we've got 11 bowl games as well, so a lot of college football this week, and we're going to go over every single game as we officially, after today, conclude bowl season, as from here on out, we're just on to championships, essentially, because next week we will be back. I will say this now, quick program update. We're changing the time or the day. We're going to be posting college football predictions next week on Sunday. Why? The FCS championship game is on January 5th, and I just want to get that video up a little bit earlier. So next week, our college football playoff predictions, or I guess third round predictions, regardless of how you want to see it, will be out at 4 p.m. Pacific on Sunday, on January 4th. So just putting that out there right now. Next video will be out on January 4th instead of Monday. But today, we've got 11 bowl games plus the 4 playoff games to go over as well. Let's do it, folks. Before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more college football content here on the channel. We still have got 2 more weeks of the college football season, as this one is obviously week 19. Also on the channel, daily college basketball and daily NBA best bets. So you're not going to want to miss those going out every single day on the channel. And on top of that as well, our NFL predictions and best bets are weekly running on the channel too. Our predictions will be out in a couple days on Wednesday. Let me get this out of the way right now, though, before I start the video. I am recording this video a little bit early. I'm recording this on Christmas Day. I just need to get ahead with some stuff this week. I don't think much changes with the bowl games. There might be a little bit of different opt-outs in the bowl games, but for the most part, nothing should really be affected by recording this video a couple days before it's actually getting posted. If there's any massive changes to these games, I will update either the comment section or the description, but I don't anticipate that. So just getting that out the way right now, let's do it. First now of 11 bowl games and 4 playoff games, we kick things off on Tuesday, tomorrow, with a huge bowl game, a massive one. We've got the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl between the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers and the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. La Tech is a 9.5-point favorite here. I don't know about that. I know there are some opt-outs for Coastal Carolina, and we say it all the time, that is the biggest part currently of bowl season. It's opt-outs and it's coaching changes. And Coastal fired their head coach because 6-6 is not it's not a good enough year for the Chanticleers, which I understand. They finished their year on a 3-game losing streak, but they do open, or they're now at 9.5-point underdogs against Louisiana Tech. A La Tech team that played fairly well down the stretch of the season. They finished 7-5. End of the year on back-to-back victories against Liberty and Missouri State. We know how great this run game is. We know what they can do. They'll go to their Wildcat. Their quarterback at the end of the season was Trey Kukic, but they go Wildcat almost all the time. You're going to see Clay go out at quarterback. You're going to see Adam Burnett go out at quarterback for the Wildcat. They've got a bunch of different guys that can take snaps and go into the Wildcat formation. So that's a big part of what Louisiana Tech's going to do. They throw the ball, I think, the least in the CUSA, and I know Jack State's in the CUSA. I think Louisiana Tech does throw the ball the least out of every single team in the conference, so expect a run-heavy approach. But with that being said, and with them being a run-heavy team, clock's going to be ticking the entire game. I think there's decent value on Coastal Carolina. I will say this now, this is not close to one of my favorite games to bet this week. I probably wouldn't touch it, right? We've got so many games to bet on this week, but I think Coastal can keep this fairly close. They have a couple opt-outs, but not many. I know they're going through a coaching switch right now, but I don't think Coastal is going to get completely blown out in this game because of the style in which Louisiana Tech plays. I think La Tech wins the game, but they have a bunch of guys already entering the transfer portal. They've got 10 plus guys and a handful of players who start and play meaningful snaps for Louisiana Tech, not giving it a go in the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl. So that favors Coastal Carolina. The Chanticleers have, gone through quarterback this season. They've had a bunch of quarterbacks at the helm this year. It seems like it's Tad Hudson's job, and Tad Hudson will get the start in his sophomore season. This is the brother-in-law of Drake May. Yes, that Tad Hudson is Ann Michael May's brother. I believe I got that correct. I'm fairly confident that's the case. I've seen that before. Anyways, Tad Hudson, yes, technically somewhat related to Drake May, obviously not blood related. You get what I mean, though. Tad Hudson is the starting quarterback currently for the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. I expect him to start. There's been nothing about Hudson leaving. This is a team that expected to start Noah Kim at the beginning of the year. Not Noah Kim. Oh my goodness, it's so bad. Noah Kim, former Coastal Carolina quarterback. Emmett Brown was supposed to start. Noah Kim obviously went to EMU. They're supposed to start Emmett Brown this season. Junior year for Emmett Brown, gets a potential career-ending injury, which sucks. So they've gone through Samari Collier, Tad Hudson, some MJ Morris. They've struggled to figure out who their quarterback is. They've winded up on Tad Hudson, and I believe Hudson will get the start in the Independence Bowl. And I think they can keep this close. Their last 3 games are not great, I understand. This is a Coastal team that started 6-3, had some big victories over Appalachian State, Marshall, Georgia State, South Alabama on the road was huge, and they got blown out in their last 3 outings. Last 2 outings. They played a competitive game at Georgia Southern, lost by 5 points, and then got blown out at South Carolina, obviously, and then just got blown out by playoff team. And shout out to JMU for covering, by the way. Shout out to the Dukes. Losing to JMU by 49 points over in Conway, South Carolina. Coastal doesn't really run the ball well at all. They had 5 rushing yards out of Javin Simpkins, who was their leading rusher in their last game, which is really bad. And they do lose a lot of running threat when Collier is not the quarterback, who is in his senior year. Collier's dealt with injuries, though, so I think Hudson is playing, and Hudson's obviously the future. I'm going to go with Coastal to keep it close, guys. I know La Tech's got a really good defense. I know what they can do offensively with their run game. I understand that. Asking them to cover 9.5 to me just feels like too many. And I will say this, like I said earlier, this is not close to one of my favorite games to bet this week. I would not get close to it at all. But I pick every single game every single year, so we are going to side with Coastal Carolina. And sure, I will go over, as we go on here, a little bit of betting stuff, just because there is no best bets, obviously, anymore on the channel, because there's just not many games to pick from. So I would stay off this, but I will take Coastal Carolina to cover. I'd be a little surprised if La Tech doesn't win. Game is in Louisiana. It's in Shreveport, Louisiana. So Louisiana Tech essentially with the home game here against the Chants, not on the teal field. I'm going to go plus 9.5 for Coastal, but I do expect the Bulldogs to win the game outright in the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl. Next up, let's go to the Liberty Mutual Music City Bowl. Music City Bowl is not enough. The Liberty Mutual Music City Bowl at Nissan Stadium over in Nashville, Tennessee, as we've got the Illinois Fighting Illini playing the Tennessee Volunteers. This will be a home game for Rocky Top. Absolutely. I know there are opt-outs, a lot more opt-outs for Tennessee and transfer guys for Tennessee than there are Illinois, but this is an SEC home game for Tennessee. This is one of the SEC travels fairly well, and these fans are very loyal to their guys and loyal to their star players and just players in general and their team and their school and their university. This is going to feel like a Tennessee home game. It might not feel like it does, obviously, at Neyland. I get that. But Tennessee is going to have a very clear home field edge in this game over the Illinois Fighting Illini, who are coming down, obviously, from the Midwest. Illinois 8-4 in the regular season, Tennessee 8-4 in the regular season. I had talked about at length this year about how underrated Illinois was and how people didn't really respect the Fighting Illini because of the games that they had lost. I could no longer make that argument towards the end of the season when they did lose to Wisconsin. There was no argument to be made about, Illinois only lost to Indiana, Ohio State, and Washington. They ended up losing to the Badgers. Sure, going to Camp Randall's can be difficult sometimes. I get it, but don't love that. So Tennessee does have quite a bit of guys in the portal. They've got no Chris Brazzell in this game. He's already declared for the NFL draft. They don't have a couple defensive pieces. I know Boo Carter's not playing. He's already in the portal, who is one of their secondary guys this season. Jake Merklinger is in the transfer portal, which he's not going to play. It's going to be Joey Aguilar. Obviously, he's been the starter this season, but Merklinger, I guess, maybe could have been the guy of the future. You take a chance. You bring in a guy highly recruited out of high school. Merklinger, 4-star guy, you get out of high school, give him a spot. Obviously, freshman year, he's the backup, and he just transfers out. Because that's college football now. But anyways, the main ones that are going to hurt Tennessee are going to be Brazzell, and I believe as well, Peyton Lewis isn't playing, but Peyton Lewis worked his way to the third string back because Deshaun Bishop and Star Thomas were the guys of the season for Tennessee. So the biggest loss this team's going to have is Chris Brazzell. Other than that, I'm okay with Tennessee. Illinois not losing too many guys from what I have seen. Again, we have to continue to check this because the portal changes on a daily basis. Illinois has got some guys out, but I don't think they're the biggest pieces. I think there's some defensive guys. I think they're missing some ends, I think. Regardless, I still think Tennessee wins this game. I think the Volunteers have more overall talent than the Fighting Illini, and I completely understand some of that talent's already in the transfer portal or getting ready for the NFL draft. but Joey Aguilar and this team should just be too much for Illinois. And I think the factor of the added factor of this game being in Nashville, being in Tennessee, I do believe affects the Fighting Illini. And I'm not going to get too into conferences, at least in this game, because I don't think it matters too much, because I firmly just believe Tennessee's the better team. But you look at Tennessee's losses this year, they're all good losses. Illinois' losses are all good, except for the loss at Camp Randall to Wisconsin. And if this was a neutral site, that wouldn't really be an argument, but no, it is now, because they're going to Nashville, they're going to Tennessee, and playing the Volunteers. Sure, Tennessee's basketball team may not see success in their own state, but that's neither here or there. The football, in terms of neutral site games in their own state, you know what I mean, outside of Knoxville. But the Volunteers playing in Nashville, I think, are going to have a fairly great game. This is going to be Joey Aguilar's last collegiate football game, even though, isn't he trying to get another year? I thought he was trying to, pull a Diego Pavia, so maybe Aguilar's coming back. I don't know. Tennessee's offense, I believe, is just too good for Illinois. I know Illinois, at their best with Luke Altmaier and company, can have very explosive nights offensively. We just haven't seen that recently, though. I mean, the last 3 games, you scored 24 points against Maryland, you scored 10 points in Madison against Wisconsin, and albeit against a good defense, but still you only scored 20 points against Northwestern. I don't expect them to be able to keep up with Tennessee. Most of the games Tennessee's lost this season is just teams outscore them. Vandy scored 45 on them. Oklahoma scored 33. Georgia beat them in overtime 44-41. I don't think Illinois is able to put up a huge number offensively and a huge number just scoring-wise against this Tennessee team, and especially in the environment that they're playing in. Maybe it's not a sellout in Nashville. I mean, you can get a ticket for $40, so obviously it's not a tough ticket to buy, but I would still expect a heavy, obviously, I mean, Illinois fans aren't going to this game. I'd expect a very heavy Tennessee influence in this football game, just with the crowd and with the location as well, and I would firmly expect Tennessee to win the football game and cover, even with some of the opt-outs they may have. So give me the Volunteers in Tennessee, -2.5 and -135 on the money line against Illinois. Would I bet this one? Yes. I would. Even with the opt-outs, I believe it's a great spot for Tennessee in the Liberty Mutual Music City Bowl from Nashville. Okay, on to our next game and the final game of Tuesday before we get into the New Year's Eve games. But let's now move to the Valero Alamo Bowl, a classic between the USC Trojans and the Texas Christian Horned Frogs from the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas. Should be a good game. I mean, the Alamo Bowl, again, is always a great one between usually Pac-12 and Big 12, but I don't know how they're doing that going forward. But anyways, we do get a traditional Pac-12, Big 12 game. Obviously, USC now in the Big 10, but formerly of the Pacific 12. Maybe does that change next year, or do they still go to the traditional format? I don't know. The big opt-outs in this game, Mekhi Lemon, Josh Hoover. By far, 2 very impactful players for both teams. Mekhi Lemon is one of the best receivers in the country, and he's going to be one of the best receivers in the NFL draft this year, obviously. He's very talented. I am going to say this, though. Losing Mekhi Lemon is big for USC. It's not as big of a loss, though, as Texas Christian not having Josh Hoover. I will say that outright. Losing Josh Hoover is massive. I don't know where Josh Hoover is going to land. There's going to be a lot of teams that are going to be very keen on getting Hoover. I think if the Indiana Hoosiers don't land Sam Leavitt, I still think they're going to, but if they don't land Sam Leavitt, I believe Josh Hoover is going to be the starting quarterback next year of the Indiana Hoosiers. I think he just fits the offense and fits the scheme. He's a guy who can throw for big yardage, and he's going to be in his senior season, which, a team like Indiana is going to continue to look for senior quarterbacks, or at least experienced collegiate quarterbacks to lead them. But anyways, not having Josh Hoover is a huge, and I mean huge, blow to Texas Christian. This is your leader of your offense. This is your best player. And yes, USC's got a bunch of guys in the portal. A very large percentage of their players are, a good percentage of their players are in the transfer portal. It's a lot of underclassmen. There are some players who play is Walker Lyons the starting tight end of Tennessee of USC or not? Because he's in a lot of formations, and I would argue might be on the field more than Lake McCree, but it kind of feels like Walker Lyons is their starting tight end. Regardless, Lyons is in the portal. I assume Lake McCree, who's playing his final collegiate game, will be playing instead and will obviously be starting, but that's just a factor I want to put out there. Mekhi Lemon's, the loss of Mekhi Lemon's huge. He had 11 touchdowns this season for 1,100 yards. It's not as big of a loss, though, as Josh Hoover is for Texas Christian. I mean, that's your quarterback. Quarterback's not playing, and I assume Ken Seals will get the starting assignment. Senior quarterback who's never gotten a chance at Texas Christian, played sparingly at Vandy, got some chances and opportunities at Vanderbilt, never could really break through over there. Transferred to Texas Christian last year, sat behind Josh Hoover, sat behind him again this year, and I assume the senior is going to get a chance today to play for TCU. If it's not Ken Seals, I don't really know who else it could be. They've got some younger players, but some freshmen. I think it has to be Ken Seals, though, getting the starting role. It could be maybe Jacob Porter, who's a junior, but Porter's never played. No, it's going to be Ken Seals, who at least has experience in the SEC with Vanderbilt. So expect Seals to start for TCU, but he hasn't started a game yet for the Horned Frogs. And sure, it should be a relative home game. I mean, I don't think this is going to be as big of a home game for Texas Christian as the Music City Bowl was for Tennessee over in Nashville. But obviously, Texas Christian playing in their home state, playing in San Antonio, a team from Fort Worth, Texas, right? I believe. I think they're Fort Worth, I believe. Anyways, it's a home state game for TCU. I just think USC outmans this team quite a bit. I think so. Jaden Mavia playing this game, haven't seen otherwise. He's a junior, getting prepared for his senior year. Mavia had a good year. We're expecting another big step next year if he doesn't play, which I think he's going to. Husan Longstreet is very capable. That's a player who I think is going to be fairly solid. I mean, very highly recruited out of high school. It's going to be Mavia, though, and I'm completely fine with that. We know what the running game can do. We know what that passing, core, or what that receiving core can do, even without Mekhi Lemon. Defensively, USC has had their struggles this season, and they are coming off of, beating UCLA, but prior to that, losing to Oregon. I don't care. I think they're going to run right over TCU. I don't trust Texas Christian in this spot. Their offense really scared me towards the end of the season in terms of, I couldn't touch TCU because of how bad offensively they were. They turned around the final game of the year against Cincinnati, more than the Bearcats later, but they had that 4-game stretch where they barely put up points in Morgantown against WVU. They lost to Iowa State and only scored 17 points, and that's with Josh Hoover, who is a very good junior quarterback. They lost to Brigham Young on the road, got blown out, and did beat Houston, only put up 17 points, but did beat Houston. It's just that offense cannot hang with USC. And ultimately, that's what's going to decide this game. It's going to be the points. I think both defenses are okay in spots. I just don't think Texas Christian's offense is able to hold up with what USC has. And yes, there are a ton of opt-outs for USC. You got to realize, though, a lot of these guys are just freshmen and sophomores who never got opportunities. And there are the fair share of guys who did get opportunity, like a Walker Lyons, like, Mekhi Lemon's just obviously opted out. But, there are players who have gotten opportunity, and just aren't playing the game because obviously they're transferring and looking for, a new spot next season. I still think the overall talent that SC has is good enough, and I'm taking the USC Trojans to win this football game on the road at the Alamo Dome. -6.5 for USC. I do believe it's playable as well against a backup quarterback, and I'm telling you, the loss of Josh Hoover outweighs anything else not happening for SC. So I'm going to take USC to win the football game and cover 6.5. Next up, we move on to the New Year's Eve games, and we get to start with Diego Pavia. So shout out, Greedo Plays Clips on TikTok, phenomenal account, would highly recommend checking it out. But we've been all over the Diego Pavia saga that's been going on in college football. I mean, how we started with the whole Diego Pavia and, Diego Pavia / Theo Vaughn / Diego Pavia's mom / Tate McRae thing. And obviously Tate McRae has landed on Jack Hughes, all-star forward for the, all-star wing for the New Jersey Devils. But anyways, Pavia swung and missed on Tate McRae. Let's just say that's what happened, okay? And Jack Hughes, obviously, or Jack Hughes is a center, my goodness. I could have sworn Jack Hughes was playing wing a couple years ago. Anyways, Jack Hughes, premier player in his sport. I can't say the same thing, obviously, for Diego Pavia. Anyways, Diego Pavia is back. I've seen nothing on Pavia not playing this game. It's expected that he is going to. Just make sure. Yeah, Jack Hughes did used to play left wing. I was like, I'm not like a hardcore hockey guy, but I watch enough. I was like, I thought he was playing wing. He's playing center now. Anyways, he's gotten older. Regardless, Diego Pavia, I assume, is playing this football game. I have not seen that he's not playing this game. I haven't seen really any opt-outs for Iowa in terms of potential NFL talent for Iowa. They've got a couple of guys in the portal, just like every team's going to have. Last I checked, Vandy did not have that many guys in the transfer portal. They have a few, but not many, and not many really impactful guys. Same thing I think with Iowa. I think Iowa's got, Iowa actually has nobody in the portal right now, which is kind of absurd. So Iowa's going to be at full strength. I mean, you're getting the Iowa Hawkeyes who held Oregon to 18 points, who held USC to 26 points, and who held Indiana to 20 points. And Vandy's going to try to score on this team? Vandy's going to play like this is his Heisman game, right? When he's playing in the ReliaQuest Bowl in Tampa, this used to be the Outback Bowl, right? Why did they get rid of the Outback Bowl? Oh, because they probably don't have enough money to fund that game anymore, to sponsor the game anymore, which sucks. Outback is great. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Love the Queensland chicken. Oh my goodness, and pasta. And the shrimp. Oh my goodness. Outback shrimp, some of the best shrimp I've ever had. Anyways. Well, Pavia's playing the ReliaQuest Bowl. The guy that he's bitching about, who won the Heisman over him, is playing in the Rose Bowl for a potential national championship. So I just want to put that out there. I just want to say that right now. Anyways, Vandy's running into Iowa. I know their offense for Vanderbilt has been great. Last 3 games, they scored 45 points in each game. And, oh, look how great Diego Pavia is. He's all right. He's a good college quarterback. He wants to be Johnny Manziel desperately. But Johnny Manziel, when he was great, he was 19. Diego Pavia is 25 or 23, whatever he is. He's old. But you get my point. Playing this defense, I'm going to go Iowa. This is a gritty, dirty Iowa football game. And that's why plus 4.5 is great for the Hawkeyes. I probably, again, if you want to bet this game, I would lean the spread definitely over the money line. I am seeing 5.5 on some books, and that's actually even better, obviously. Trust me, this is going to be a gritty, disgusting Iowa football game. Vandy may win it. I think Iowa probably will get it done, but this is going to be a brutal game where Diego Pavia is really going to need to run the football, I think. I don't think he's going to have much in the pass game here. This is going to be, if Pavia is going to win, and Vandy's going to win, they're going to need to run the ball. And they're going to need to get 3 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards. Yeah, 4th and 1, go for it, first down. That's the type of game I think we're going to have here. You know what Iowa does. They're nothing special offensively. Mark Gronowski at quarterback forgets how to throw a football after he leaves South Dakota State. It's okay. Gronowski playing in his final collegiate game. He can make plays when you need him, obviously, and he's a good runner, too. Kamari Moulton, leading running back, right, for the Hawkeyes. I'm going with Iowa here. This defense is just too good. And yes, this is actually a fun stylistic game. It's an early morning spot on New Year's Eve at 9 o'clock. Great offense in Vanderbilt versus a very good defense in Iowa. And sure, you can say, well, Vandy scored 31 points against Louisiana State. They've been able to score against good defenses, and that is fair. Iowa's got an excellent defense. I mean, sure, Vandy's seen some SEC defenses, but have you seen the best Big Ten defense other than the Hoosiers? Oh, here we go. Good luck with Iowa. All right? I know what this defense brings. Offensively, it's going to be a struggle. But Vandy's defense, they're not known for their defense, right? I mean, it's all Pavia. So Gronowski can make some plays. Kamari Moulton can get to the second level. I'm going to take Iowa here, guys. Trust me, this is going to be a traditional Iowa football game. The over-under is 47.5, which I don't know about that one. Yeah, I'm going to take Iowa. I'm going to take Iowa here to cover. I really feel like this Pavia-led team is going to struggle, especially to this dude thinks he's going to be on the Raiders. He thinks he's going to be the number 1 overall pick. So, dude's a clown. All right, give me Vandy to lose, hopefully. But the best bet here, I think, is Iowa plus 4.5. Next up, we move on to another game here on New Year's Eve, and let's go to the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl in El Paso, Texas, between the Arizona State Sun Devils and the Duke Blue Devils. I'm going to go with the Duke Blue Devils to win and cover the point spread. It's minus 2.5 for Duke. I think they should cover that, as well, obviously, as the minus 145 money line for the ACC champions. Let's clarify that. The ACC champs, Duke Blue Devils. It's still absurd they got it. It's so absurd. Everything could have been solved, and the ACC's been saved, obviously, right? ACC's been saved because the committee decided to put Miami in, rightfully so, over Notre Dame. And obviously we've seen how that worked so far. I mean, anyways, Miami's playing in the playoffs, and they won at A&M. But anyways, right, that game should have just been Miami versus Virginia, and we could have skipped this entire thing, and it would have been a lot easier. Anyways, Duke is your ACC champion. They've won. They won the last 3 games to win the ACC. They beat UNC, they beat Wake Forest, and they beat Virginia in North Carolina to win the entire thing in the ACC. Darian Mensah, who could have been a very highly touted portal quarterback. I mean, Duke is very fond, obviously, of Mensah, who's only a sophomore. They've, their head coach called Mensah the best quarterback in college football, which, I mean, I guess you have to call your guy that. He lost to Tulane this season, but whatever. His former school. It's okay. They lost 5 games. It's fine. Mensah's back. So Mensah will obviously be playing the Sun Bowl, and there are some huge opt-outs for Arizona State. At full strength, I'd probably take ASU. I can't take them here. Offensively, they are a mess. And trust me, with no Sam Leavitt, this team is going to be a mess offensively. I assume Jeff Sims is playing, okay? I haven't seen anything that's told me otherwise that Jeff Sims will not play this game. Why would I be concerned he's not playing? Well, if DeQuan Finn sits out the final 4 games of the regular season for Miami of Ohio, I don't know what to expect out of anybody anymore, because I believe Jeff Sims is going to give it a go for the NFL draft. I think so. Kenny Dillingham has made it very clear he believes both Jeff Sims and Sam Leavitt are NFL quarterbacks. I don't know about Jeff Sims. He's played a lot of college football. He's not a great passer. If he wants to play tight end, maybe. I don't know. Maybe he'll get a role like Malik Cunningham, and he'll be just a practice squad guy that goes from team to team. If you heard, Malik Cunningham literally just gets signed to every single team when they play the Baltimore Ravens because he knows Lamar Jackson. He knows what Lamar Jackson does fairly well, and now he plays receiver. Anyways, I guess the Lions just did that, but still. That's the only reason he's on the Lions is because they wanted him for Lamar Jackson, and they said, oh, okay, welcome back. We're going to keep you. Anyways, Jeff Sims should be starting for Arizona State. He struggled so much in the Arizona game. And sure, rivalry game against Arizona, I understand that can be difficult. My goodness, did he struggle, though. That was horrible. And if you can pressure Sims, and he's a mess, man. If he doesn't get going on the ground, he's very easy to stop. Duke has no one opting out of this game for the most part, except for Brian Parker, who's one of their offensive linemen who are going to be going into the NFL draft. Sam Levitt's going in the portal. I hope he's a Hoosier. I really hope he's a Hoosier. And Jordan Tyson's not playing either, who's going to be drafted this year, obviously. Those are some big losses. So when you get a quarterback who's a backup in Jeff Sims, who has always been a run-first guy, sure, but quarterback obviously wants his best receiver playing, and he already doesn't get that. That's a problem. And there are other players on this team, too, who are opting out due to the portal as well. Dillingham has said before, though, anyone who opts out or anyone who's going to the portal is more than welcome to play in the bowl game. Because this is the 2025 Arizona State Sun Devils, so if you are on the team this season, I don't care if you're going in the portal, you can play. The thing is, and that's great for Dillingham. I mean, I respect that because obviously a lot of coaches wouldn't do that. I don't know if I was a coach, I don't know if I'd let those guys back. I mean, if I really wanted to win the bowl game, sure. But it's like, all right, we're not good enough for you. And Dillingham's been very honest, though, and that's why a lot of people think he's going to leave eventually and soon, is because he's been very honest and said, well, Arizona State, we don't have money to keep these guys. So, yeah, I don't know what we can do. I don't have enough money to keep Sam Levitt. Like the guy, but I don't have enough money. Anyways, not many players are going to take Dillingham on his offer, though, because they don't want to get injured. They want to move on to their next school. They don't want to play in the Sun Bowl in El Paso. They have no interest in that, and that's ultimately what this is going to come down to. I think Duke actually has a lot of interest in winning this game. They have something going forward next year with Darian Mensah, as Arizona State's playing a senior quarterback who hasn't played exceptionally well at any level he's been at. I respect Jeff Sims. I respect the hustle. I think he should, try his shot in the NFL, but I like Duke here, guys. I really like the Blue Devils. That ACC title win was huge. They weren't supposed to beat Virginia. Virginia would have been in the playoffs. They would have gone to Eugene. Whatever. That was a playoff team, supposed to be, and Duke went out there and upset them. I'm going to take Duke to do it again against an ASU team who I think is just missing too many guys, and obviously the biggest loss, Sam Levitt, as well as Jordan Tyson. Give me the Blue Devils here in El Paso at the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl on CBS. On to our next game, and we move on to the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. Remember when the Cheez-It Bowl was just its own thing, and they went to the Rate Bowl, and now here they are in the Citrus Bowl? I mean, really? I respect the Cheez-It Bowl. The Cheez-It Bowl is fire, but they really had to do that to, like, one of the best bowl logos ever? Like, oh, man. I guess. They still have, like, the traditional, the traditional Citrus Bowl logo, but, I mean, really? Or this used to be the Camping World Bowl, too. Like, the Cheez-It Bowl has been everything, and they just settled on the Citrus Bowl, whatever. Like, I love the original Citrus Bowl logo. Like, I know the Citrus Bowl has always been, like, the biggest New Year's Day bowl, or, like, the big ones, but something about the Citrus Bowl, man. Something about the Citrus Bowl. I know it was the Capital One Bowl for years, but when it became back the Citrus Bowl, I mean, I don't know. I always look forward to this one. This is one of the games that I care quite a bit about. That and the Pop-Tart Bowl, right? Obviously, which thanks for not playing it at Notre Dame. Thanks for that. Anyways, Michigan versus Texas in the Citrus Bowl. The line is 7.5, and I think Texas is going to cover the 10.5. Sure, there are opt-outs on both sides. Michigan is dealing with a coaching change, with Sharon Moore obviously being fired for reasons. I fully went over that on Greedo Plays Clips on TikTok, and I probably have more range to say what I want to say over there. So I don't really know, actually, and probably not. But regardless, go check that out if you haven't yet. Again, keep plugging the TikTok. But regardless, there's some things going on with Michigan. They have opt-outs, obviously, with their NFL talent, especially on their defense. Bryce Underwood, for now, is playing. I know there's been a lot of speculation on if Bryce Underwood is staying or not. I don't know. We'll see. As of Christmas, Bryce Underwood is still a Michigan Wolverine. I mean, I'd hope so for all the money they gave him, but who knows? He might leave. I mean, he wasn't fully committed to Michigan originally, right? Everyone thought he was going to go to Louisiana State, and now with Lane Kiffin there, does he go? I don't know, because I think he's actually going to stay at Michigan. I think he's going to go one more year, and then he'll go to LSU. Why? Do you really want to sit behind Trinidad Chambliss 1 year? No. But here comes the factor, like, okay, if Underwood's still undecided, he's probably not going to play the bowl game then. But just sit it out. I mean, hell, the guy's making $12.5 million per year. What does he give a damn about the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl for? I think Underwood's going to be really good, but it's like, Dude, he's a good player. He's going to be really good as a sophomore, I think, and very great as a, junior and senior. And I think if I'm Bryce Underwood, I don't want to play at Michigan. I do want to play at LSU. I want to play for Lane Kiffin, and I want to be able to air the ball out. And I'm playing on a run-first team right now, right? I don't know. It's just a Michigan philosophy. I mean, we'll see what happens with Sharon Moore, at least who replaces permanently Sharon Moore. Taking Texas. Texas looked good at the end of the year. I know their defense has always been defense has been a struggle this year, and the offense too. I mean, Arch Manning it's been very noted, obviously, right? The struggles Arch Manning has had this season. I understand. Arch is obviously playing this game. Manning is fully committed to come back for 2026, and we don't know, again, if Michigan's quarterback is fully committing to 2026. We know the struggles Texas has had running the ball. They're going to have to throw it on Michigan. I'm fine with that. Ultimately, you have to ask yourself, too, like, if Bryce Underwood doesn't play, how are they going to score? And who's gonna play if Underwood doesn't play? Again, he may he may play. If not, it's Mikey Keene, who I understand is completely capable. I still do not know why Mikey Keene went here. I think he's gonna get a year back though, because I think Keene can redshirt this year. He hasn't played. I hope Mikey Keene should go back to Fresno. He should have never left. I don't know why he did. Anyways, I assume Mikey Keene will play. If not, I think Jaden Davis though is pretty highly regarded too. So maybe they start Jaden Davis. We'll see. I don't know who's playing for Michigan, and that's the problem. Too much uncertainty with this team. I don't know who's going to play. We know their run game is really good, but Texas should be able to outscore this squad. Both teams have opt-outs due to the NFL draft. Both teams are going to have guys in the portal. I mean, that's just a given with big-time schools like both these. I believe Texas actually has way more guys in the portal rather than Michigan, but a lot of Texas's portal guys, and that's what we have to see too with some of these schools. There's a difference between G5 portal guys and Power 4 portal players, because for the G5, look at, Cam Cook. I know Cam Cook played in the bowl game a little bit, but, great player in Cam Cook at Jack State who had 1,700 rushing yards this season. He's going to enter the portal, and I know he played his bowl game, but regardless, right? Like the best guys you're going to see enter the portal for some of these G5 schools because they want to go play in the Power 4. Some of the Power 4, it's just, these are guys who are good players and highly regarded out of high school. And I'm not saying these are all these players, but you're just going to get high-level high school products for the most part, a portion of them, who just think they can get PT somewhere else. And there's nothing wrong with that. So that's just how we have to look at the portal for some of these games. I'm going to take Texas here. I think Texas dominates. Michigan's offense is always a problem. And I know they've played well historically in the Citrus Bowl, very well. Look at last year. I'm going to go with Texas. I think they played the game against Bama was in the Citrus Bowl, I think, right? Regardless, Michigan has played well historically all the time in bowl games. I'm going to take Texas, though. Sharon Moore incident, too, is like, I don't know what the hell this team thinks going into this game. Give me Texas. Next up, we move on to the Las Vegas Bowl at Allegiant Stadium at, let me get this right, the SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl between the Nebraska Cornhuskers and the Utah Utes. This should be a complete blowout. Absolute blowout. Utah is missing some of their NFL products. They've got two really good linemen who are going into the NFL draft. But Nebraska's got obviously Dylan Raiola, who's entered the transfer portal. I know he's really pissed Brendan Sorbs. He's likely going to Texas Tech because that would 100% be where Raiola wants to go to follow Patrick Mahomes. Maybe he'll tear his ACL like Patrick Mahomes. Is that poor taste? I don't think so. I don't think. Mahomes is going to be fine for week 1. That's not a bad taste, right? Anyways, I don't know where Raiola is going to end up, but he's not playing this game. And you take away Raiola, you take away Emmett Johnson, because he's going to the NFL, who carried this Nebraska team all year long through spots. He did. Emmett Johnson was very good, had 1,500 rushing yards. And now what do you get? Obviously, we can expect TJ Lateef to play. Lateef, the backup quarterback out of Compton, California. Freshman, viewed as probably the future starter for the Cornhuskers, unless they go win now, move next year. I don't know. We could assume Lateef's going to be their guy going forward, but he has to start against this defense. And this team, well, okay, the defense actually, they went to crap towards the end of the year. I'm not going to deny that. Offensively, though, yeah, good luck with this squad. Good luck keeping up with Utah and Devin Dampier. Here's the thing. I still have questions. What is going to go on with the quarterback situation going forward with the Utes? We know how capable Bird Ficklin is. Is he just going to wait? Isaac Wilson's already hit the portal. That's expected. I believe he's going to end up at Utah State. And I called that a while ago. It's what Bryson Barnes did, Utah to Utah State. It's what Isaac Wilson should do too. He should be really good at Utah State next season as just a sophomore, redshirt sophomore. But Bird Ficklin's a freshman, and he was great this year. I don't think he's better than Dampier, but all I'm saying is, like, if Ficklin wants to get paid next year, he can enter the portal, and he can easily replace Haynes King at Georgia Tech. It's a random shout. There's a lot of places he could play, but off the top of my mind, yeah, go to G-Tech. You'd play quite a bit over there. I think he'd play fairly well. I think he'd kind of bring life back to Georgia Tech after this season, because going into next year, I'm not too fond of. I don't think G-Tech's going to be that good. Regardless, right? Bird Ficklin can play in a lot of schools. He could go to Max Madsen's back, I think. He can play a lot of places. right? He could go to SC and maybe back up. Yeah. Unless Mafia goes to the draft, right? Like, there are places, though, for Bert Ficklin to play. Do not get me wrong. I expect Dampier to be back. I just want to put this out there. Devin Dampier is now with the same girl that Jackson Dart cheated on last year. I just found that out a couple hours ago. I found that kind of funny. No, like, I mean, good on Devin Dampier. Go get, like, I mean, I guess. Yeah, I mean, sure. I don't want to talk. It is what it is. I just felt like that was kind of funny. Whatever. Meaningless point. Utah's going to dominate Nebraska. No, this is not going to be a competitive football game. Utah's offense is going to score 40 points. Nebraska will not be able to keep up. No Raiola, no Johnson. And the thing is, like, yeah, Latif played, and he wasn't bad, and they went 1-2 with him. Guys, Emmett Johnson was putting up 200 yards nearly a game with Latif. And now you take that away. And sure, again, you've got other capable backs, but you got no one else who's Emmett Johnson. I assume it's going to be Quinton Eves who's going to be starting, sophomore out of New Jersey, third year with the Cornhuskers, redshirted his freshman season, his initial freshman year. I assume he's playing. I haven't seen anything otherwise on him, so that's great. Utah's going to dominate. Too much talent in Utah for Nebraska, and Dampier should be playing. We might see some Bert Ficklin. They use both of them now, which is great. Yeah, you're missing some pieces on the O-line, and what's made that O-line so dominant and what's made that offense so good. But on all sides of the ball, Utah is better than Nebraska. And we look at the spread here, 13.5 points. Sorry, 15. Oh my goodness, 15.5 points. There's a reason for that, though. There's a complete reason why the spread is that big. It's because no one expects the Cornhuskers to be all that competitive in this game because of so much talent they're missing. I mean, they're missing Deshaun McCullough as well, who's one of their linebackers who's getting ready for the NFL draft. So you're missing two NFL players in Emmett Johnson and Deshaun McCullough, two big-time players for you this season. You're missing a bunch of guys that transfer portal, and you're missing your quarterback, who I understand has been injured, but that's another factor too. Raiola, right? Injured going into the portal, but you're missing him, and your offense with your backup quarterback and TJ Latif was so dependent on that run game, and with Emmett Johnson, who's now going into the NFL draft. So everything is kind of stacked against Nebraska in this spot, and I believe the Utah Utes should be able to get this one done. So I'm going to go Utah in the SRS Las Vegas Bowl from Allegiant Stadium to win, obviously. I mean, the money line's not playable at all. They're minus 750 in Vegas, but on top of that as well, I do think they cover the spread. Give me the Utes in one of the bigger blowouts you're going to see in bowl season. Maybe this will be like Western Michigan, Kennesaw. I don't know. Minus 15.5 for the Utes to win this one in the Vegas Bowl. Okay, on now to the first of 4 straight playoff games. We still have some bowl games after. We still have some bowl games after this. But anyways, let's get it. Miami, Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl over at AT&T Stadium. I think Miami has a real chance to win this football game. So I will get this out the way right now. I am taking Ohio State to win, but I'm taking the Miami Hurricanes to cover 9.5 points. If this gets up to 10, absolutely fire on it. I firmly believe Ohio State's going to have a lot of trouble with this defense. We know what Miami has. I mean, Ruben Bain gets a lot of shine, but there are a lot of key players on the Miami defense, right? There's Basant, who got injured. We'll see if he's playing or not. I don't know. There's a lot of big players on this team, right? This defense is loaded. We saw it last week against A&M. I mean, Marcel Reed's in hell in that game. And sure, you can say, well, the A&M offense has disappeared. They're just bad now. They lost to Texas. They lose to Miami. Okay. Well, I did call Miami winning that game. I want to put that out there. I did call that one outright. But Marcel Reed, who's still a sophomore, had a phenomenal season. Johnny Manziel's pumping up the Heisman campaign before he jumped on over to the Diego Pavia Heisman campaign, which, okay, it's fine. Marcel Reed's a good player. He had a bad last couple games, but Miami limited everything out of A&M. A&M had their moments, but a huge win for the Hurricanes, and what a day for Mark Fletcher. Mark Fletcher, 172 yards on the ground, had some big runs, obviously, in that final drive, getting them in the red zone, getting them down to the 5-yard line where they went to the Malachi Toney little jet touch pass action. Toney, who fumbled earlier in the game and gave A&M life. Miami converts, giving the ball back to Malachi Toney and ultimately winning the football game. Carson Beck played all right, just didn't need to do much. Beck went 14 for 20 passing for 103 yards and 1 touchdown. Again, Miami did not need him to do much. Well, they would have liked some scoring earlier in the game, but they missed some field goals, and it is what it is. Miami ultimately takes it against A&M 10-3. And now they take on the number 2 team in the country and the Ohio State Buckeyes, who have only lost once all year long, obviously, to the Indiana Hoosiers. How did Indiana beat them? They played physical defense. They got to Julian Sayin, or at least they pressured Julian Sayin some, and they found a way to win a low-scoring game 13-10. That is the exact blueprint Miami needs to use here. Your offense is good, but you need to rely on your defense, obviously. You need to rely on your defense. I'm not going to deny how much talent Ohio State has. I've talked about it at length before, obviously going into the Indiana game. I do believe this is the second best team in the country. I don't think it's all that close. We know what Julian Sand can do. I have been on record saying Julian Sand is a product of his offense, and I still somewhat believe that to an extent. But no, Julian Sand has impressed me as the season has gone on. I think he's going to be a great quarterback next year in his junior year, and I'll be excited to welcome the Buckeyes into Bloomington next year. We'll see how that goes. Just wait till Sam Levitt's throwing the ball, Josh Hoover's throwing the ball for the Hoosiers, even though it's not going to get better than Fernando. We'll get to him later. Anyways, though, Sand's talented, I understand. He has the best receiving core in the country with Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate, 2 future first-round draft picks. But that defense for Miami's good. It's really good. If there's a defense, if Indiana can do it, obviously I think Indiana's way better than Miami is. But the blueprint's out there. You got to just win a low-scoring defensive game, and I think Miami's capable of it. This is the one game obviously played on New Year's Eve. This is the late-night spot. Well, not that late-night spot, but Cotton Bowl on New Year's Eve. I think Miami covers. Guys, we'll see how they play offensively. Because Ohio State played well against Indiana. The Hoosiers moved the ball, and the Hoosiers were moving the ball a lot more on Ohio State than the Buckeyes were moving it on them. But ultimately, how did Ohio State get close to winning that game? They just bared down in the red zone. And except for that one touchdown, the Mendoza to Surratt touchdown in the end zone, Ohio State did not give up a touchdown in the red zone. It was bend but break the entire game. The Hoosiers would get into the red zone, and then Ohio State would get that stop. And ultimately, before the Mendoza touchdown, it was nothing but that. So Ohio State's got to do the same thing this week, bend don't break, against the Miami offense, who you may not think's great right now. I'm telling you, they're capable. They are very capable. Carson Beck was brought into the school to win games like this. He was brought in to win games at Texas A&M, former SEC player at Georgia. He was brought in to go to SEC environments and win. And sure, is Carson Beck the reason they won the game? No. But sometimes you need a quarterback that's just going to do his job. And is he Cam Ward? He's not, but he played well enough. Carson Beck's probably looking at a 4th or 5th round draft pick, in my opinion. Well, actually, the way the quarterback class is going right now, maybe he'll end up in the 3rd round. I don't know. We're looking at Mendoza, Moore, Simpson, and then who's 4? I don't know. Regardless, Beck's been brought here to win games like this, or at least play games like this. And if Miami can continue with this run game, and we saw how huge Mark Fletcher was, they don't win that game if it's not for Mark Fletcher. Mark Fletcher, who had a good regular season, had a much better one game in the playoffs than we saw at any point in the regular season, though. That was by far the best game Fletcher's played all year long. They really relied on Fletcher, and when they needed it most, he got them big yards and got them down the field, ultimately for that game-winning drive. And how about, again, Miami's defense final drive of the game, finding a way to pick off Marcel Reed in the end zone. Huge victory for the Hurricanes, winning it again in regulation. And I cannot express this enough how big that is going on the road and winning. Prior to the season, no team had won so far on the road in the playoffs. And sure, Alabama did do it the night before in Norman, but that is a massive thing to do. Go into an SEC environment and beat A&M. But I did say it earlier in the week too, or before that game actually happened. I was like, I don't think the home field advantage is that. It's big, but in a day game at 11 o'clock at A&M, I don't know how big that really is going to be. And sure, there's 100,000 people there, but obviously, like we saw, the Hurricanes were able to get out of a little bit of a jam, right? Obviously, A&M's a tough place to play, but 0 points scored in the first half. Miami kicks the field goal in the third quarter. Go-ahead touchdown with Malachi Toney. They bend but don't break. Find a way to get a stop in the late minutes of this game, and obviously beating the Aggies. Ohio State's good, right? 12-0 regular season. They come off the win over Michigan, and they have only lost to Indiana. Huge wins this year over Texas, week 1. Illinois on the road. Some may say the most talented team and the best roster in all of college football. I tend to disagree. I believe that's the Indiana Hoosiers. But yes, Ohio State is right there. Ohio State is the 2nd best roster in college football. Still give me the Hurricanes to cover. I think Ohio State wins, but I'm going to take the Hurricanes to cover. I think this is going to look like Ohio State, Indiana. The only difference is Ohio State's going to win this time. This game's going to go down to the wire. The only difference is that Ohio State will find a way to win. Sometimes, and again, I'm not saying Ohio State's going to win the entire thing because I firmly believe that's going to be the Hoosiers. I'm sorry if that gives away the Indiana-Alabama pick, but we'll go over that in a little bit. It's been said, is it better for Ohio State that they got that loss out of the way? I don't know if that's firmly the case because I think they'd much rather play Alabama than Miami. That might be a hot take. I don't know. We'll get to that. I'm very confident. I hope. I am. We'll get to that later. But you get that one loss out of the way. You've already, you're potentially probably going to see Indiana in the championship game, I assume. So again, you have experience against the squad now. You know what to expect, even in a losing effort. I don't know. Still, though, they're talented. I think they win. Is Marcel Reed better than Julian Sand? I don't know. Probably not, actually, which is crazy to say. It's not. It's just this team has so much talent, and defensively they are just very good, and Julian Sand can do his thing. And the run game too, I mean, the run game doesn't get talked about because of all the weapons and because of how Julian Sayin plays. Yeah, Bo Jackson's got over 1,000 yards. I mean, he went on a 4-game stretch towards the end of the year where he had 100 plus in every single game. Sorry, 3-game stretch. And he was useful in the Indiana game. They ran Bo Jackson quite a bit. He ran the ball 17 times. So I'm not too, them losing Indiana, okay, who cares? Again, the Hoosiers are the best team in the country. They're probably going to be back. I think they're probably going to be in the Natty. Right now, if I had to pick a national championship game, yes. Again, this is not giving away much. But if I had to pick a national championship game currently, I'm picking Indiana versus Ohio State rematch in Miami. I think they beat the Hurricanes. I like what Miami did in their last game. I think their offense is going to be a lot better than people expect it to be. But again, against this defense, who is talented, I think Indiana's defense is better, but Ohio State is right there too. Like, there's a reason why Indiana's won Ohio State's too. Like, they're both the best teams in the country, and if they can shut down that Indiana offense with Fernando Mendoza, with Elijah Surratt, right, with Roman Hemby, they're going to be able to shut down any offense. I think Miami has their moments. Dare I say, maybe they score first, and I think it's going to be somewhat of a similar game played against A&M like they did against A&M, but I can't pick against the Buckeyes in this spot. I can't do it. I can't pick against Oregon. I like this. I like them to take this one home. Should be a big spot. Dallas, there won't be a home field advantage either sense. I mean, obviously weather's not going to be a factor, but there's really not going to be a home field advantage, I believe, in either side in this game. Miami coming from Florida, obviously. The Buckeyes coming from Columbus. Both fan bases travel well, right? We know Michael Irvin's going to be on the sidelines, but both fan bases are going to travel well. I don't think it's going to feel like a home game for either team. So I think we're okay here with Miami. I think the Hurricanes cover. What happens beyond that? Likely a victory for Ohio State, but I'm going to take the points for the Miami Hurricanes. That defense is just too good to lose by double digits, in my opinion. And sure, they've not lost by double digits all year long. A win over Notre Dame, and sure, they haven't played a team like Ohio State yet, but their losses were by 3 points to Louisville and 6 points to Southern Methodist on the road. Give me Miami plus 9.5. Again, if it's 10, absolutely. We absolutely want plus 10. But we'll take the plus 9.5 for the Miami Hurricanes going on the road, everyone's going on the road, going to Dallas to take on the Ohio State Buckeyes in the Cotton Bowl. We move on now to our next playoff game, early morning spot on New Year's Day, as the Texas Tech Red Raiders in Miami at noon in Miami take on the Oregon Ducks. There's a potential nobody's at this game. You know how Miami crowds work. And I don't know. I have a feeling there's going to be no one at this one, but it's okay. No, it's a playoff game, but you can tell, the tickets are by far the cheapest for this game. I mean, $80 is not a cheap ticket before a college football playoff game. Yeah, it's fairly cheap. Anyways, Oregon, Texas Tech in Miami, Florida at the Hard Rock for the Capital One Orange Bowl. I forgot, the Cotton Bowl's the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. Okay. For the Capital One Orange Bowl, I am taking Texas Tech. I've been on this for quite a bit. I have felt this way for quite a while that Texas Tech will beat Oregon. Dan Lanning has been out in the media this week saying how he feels like this should be a home game for Texas Tech and feels like it's unfair that Texas Tech has to play a neutral site game against them where Oregon played James Madison and gave up 34 points. But who's keeping track? Who's keeping track about with the amount of points JMU's scoring? More on that later. Oregon gets Texas Tech. Dante Moore, everyone's so impressed with Dante Moore, and he's a good quarterback. I don't believe Dante Moore is that good, though, where you're saying, oh, he needs to be the second quarterback. Well, he's probably the second best quarterback if he goes out, but he needs to be the number 2 pick in the draft, right? If your team strikes out and doesn't get Mendoza, if your team's horrible and, I'm recording this video before the Tankathon game between the Raiders and the Giants, but, if the Raiders win that game, like I think they're going to, we'll see. But, the Raiders, if they don't get Mendoza, they can just easily go to Dante Moore. I don't think it works like that. I think Dante Moore is good. Is he a top 5 pick this year? I don't think so, but if you're picking based on potential, maybe. I think he could really benefit from one more year in college. I really think so, right? Starter at UCLA, sat behind Dylan Gabriel last year. He'll just be a junior next year. I really think he should go one more year in school. I really think so, because he'd be the best quarterback in college football next season. Oh, Arch Manning, maybe. I would think it's Dante Moore. I think that would help him to play one more year and win. I think Oregon's going to be really good. Indiana's going to be better, but we'll see. Anyways, Oregon just played a difficult game against JMU. Again, I see it with Dante Moore, but Okay, he's playing as a James Madison defense. We said going into that game, I said, JMU was going to keep it close, and well, they kind of did. They covered, so it's really all that matters, okay? It doesn't matter. The record books don't care how you get it done. JMU found a way to cover in Eugene. But you watch Dante Moore play, and he plays well, right? The first, 5 drives of the game, Oregon scores on each one of them. Dante Moore's, effortlessly moving the ball downfield. He ends up with 313 yards in that game. What I had said going into the week, though, and going into that game was, well, okay, James Madison, I think their offense is going to keep them in the game. I like Wayne Knight. I like Alonzo Barnett. Defensively, they're horrible. I watched ODU go 5 straight drives on this team and score on every single drive. So that was expected that Oregon scores on them. What was not expected, well, at least I expected it, but other people didn't expect it, was JMU scoring 34 points. I thought so quite easily. Now, that wasn't, by no stretch of the imagination, was that an easy cover for JMU, one of the toughest backdoors I've ever seen, but I don't care. I won. I saw the 34 points coming, though, for James Madison. Most points a team scored in Eugene in years. And sure, Oregon scores 51, but it is meaningful that a G5 team out of the Sun Belt and James Madison was able to go on the road and score 34 points. That's why we need to keep the G5 in the playoffs, because I don't care, it's in garbage time. They scored 34 points at Autzen Stadium. Nobody's telling me otherwise. The G5 deserves to be in permanently. Dante Moore made mistakes, threw 2 interceptions. One of them probably wasn't his fault. The goal line one definitely was. Don't understand what he was doing. So everyone's so impressed with Dante Moore. Okay, he went 19 for 27 passing. He's good, but is he immediately, the Browns need to pick him with the number 3 overall pick? No. Hell no. I'd take Shedeur Sanders over Dante Moore. Definitely. I would take Dante Moore over Dylan Gabriel. Wouldn't that be something? Dante Moore and Dylan Gabriel on the same team next year. And Dante Moore's the starter. That would be a weird dynamic. Anyways, Oregon did give up 34 points to the Dukes. They looked good early, but man, JMU had drives early in that game. They did. They got drives that got called back due to bogus penalties, I thought. I'm telling you, James Madison was in that football game. And they found a way to cover, so it's all that matters. Texas Tech's good. They're really good. And I don't know why they're dogs. I think they're dogs off of name only. I don't think people realize how good Texas Tech is. That defense is absurd. It's beyond Jacob Rodriguez, but obviously, yes, Rodriguez is the best player on the defense. He was phenomenal this season. Got robbed of being, he should have been a Final Four for the Heisman, I thought, probably over Sayin, but whatever. He was 5th, I get it. That defense is nice, man. They are a great defensive unit over in Lubbock. And offensively, how about Morton, man? How about, I always say his name wrong, but it's not Brenton Morton, but I call him Brenton Morton. How about Brenton Morton, man? Brenton Morton has been great all year long, right? Just a guy who gets it done. An underrated quarterback in his senior season. Probably does not have probably doesn't have a big future in the NFL. But Morton has been phenomenal this year for Texas Tech, and everything they could have asked out of a quarterback they got. Obviously, got injured and Will Hammond had to play, where Hammond actually got hurt. But Morton's been great, right? Run game solid as well. They are just a very good team of players who have been put together through the portal. I mean, it's just they spent a lot of money, but it's what you need to do in college football. Look at Indiana. Well, Indiana, in all fairness, Indiana was really built in the G5. Texas Tech's just a lot of Power 4 guys who just needed a spot and good Power 4 players, and Texas Tech just put them all together and made a team. But good on them, right? You can't hate it. That's how college football is now. I actually respect it. It's what you have to do in college football. You have to get as much money and as much support as possible from your boosters. That's how you're gonna make your team as good as possible. So, again, who cares? Good on Texas Tech for building this team. I'm going to go with them to beat Oregon. I think Oregon's going to struggle so much with this defense. We've seen what Tech does to teams this season, and the argument you can make against Texas Tech is, well, who have they played? Okay, guys, BYU's very good. I know the Pop-Tart Bowl's already happened. I'm recording this before the Pop-Tart Bowl, so I don't know what happened, but they held BYU and Bear Bachmeier to a combined 14 points in 2 games. And I spoke earlier about how great Utah and Devin Dampier are. The fact that this team's scoring 50 points in games. Sure, defensively they're not great, but whatever. Yeah, Texas Tech held Utah, Dampier and company to 10 points in Salt Lake City on a backup quarterback in the second half after Morton got hurt. They won 34-10. They've lost 1 game all year long. Yes, they lost in Tempe, but as I always say, where do ranked teams go to die? Tempe, Arizona. It's just a trap every single week for good teams to walk into ASU, and somehow they find ways to lose. But they did that on a backup quarterback. Morton was out. It was Will Hammond. They have not lost a game with Morton at quarterback just yet. That's not changing. Next week, probably, but that's neither here or there. That's okay. That's okay. That's neither here or there. Right now, yeah, they're going to beat Oregon. I believe so. Don't get me wrong. I like the Hoosiers against both these teams. I don't really care who it is. I think they beat Oregon. I think they beat Texas Tech. I'm going with Tech in this spot. This defense, I believe, is too good for Oregon. Dante Moore played well against James Madison, but obviously that was expected. I still think he's a good player. I still think there are some adjustments that need to be made for him to be an elite player in college football. Defensively, that's another problem for Oregon, too. Like, again, James Madison had moments. Yes, they only scored 6 points in the first half, but that easily could have been 14. That could have been a lot more. That could have been 17. That could have been 21. JMU kind of got in their own way with, well, regardless of how you feel about the penalties, right? I mean, that ultimately that beat down on James Madison in the first half. And I don't know, there's a big argument. Oh, Oregon's playing their backups in the second half. They were, but not fully. Dante Moore played the second half. Defensively, they had a lot of starters on the field. So that argument of, oh, well, James Madison just scored against backups, that's not completely valid at all, actually. So that defense is giving up 34 points to James Madison. And the focal point and the star of the Texas Tech Red Raiders team this year is not their offense. It's their defense, obviously, but I think they're going to be able to move the ball well enough against Oregon. And guys, this team hasn't given up double-digit points since November 1st. Most of their games, they hold their opponents to single digits. Guys, they've held over half of their opponents this year to 11 points or less. That's how good the defense is. I believe Dante Moore is going to struggle against this team. He struggled against a really good defense in Indiana. That's the best defense he's seen all year long. And he struggled. He struggled mightily. It was the worst game he played all year long. He had 186 yards. Don't forget the Wisconsin game, too. Weird spot, I get it, but Moore struggled against Wisconsin randomly as well. Struggled at Iowa. Struggled pretty big at Iowa. And sure, they relied on the ground game a ton. Rely on the ground game with Noah Whittington, with Jordan Davidson, both who are going to play quite a bit. But we have indeed seen Dante Moore struggle with good defenses this season. It might not be the best defense in college football because, again, he's already seen that with Indiana. But it's a top 5 defense in college football, or at least top 8, probably top 5 defense in college football in Texas Tech. So I believe Dante Moore is going to struggle with these guys too. And offensively, yes, Texas Tech will make you pay at the same exact time. So I'm going to go with the Texas Tech Red Raiders to win the Capital One Orange Bowl early spot. Or, by the way, Oregon's playing this at 9 o'clock in the morning their time. Not a big difference because it's 11 for Texas Tech, but it does matter a little bit. Oregon going cross-country to Miami. Obviously they're going to be in Miami for quite a bit, but this is an early game for them. Not that crazy for Tech. I'm going with the Red Raiders to win this game as underdogs. I just don't think people understand how good the Red Raiders truly are. Give me Texas Tech. On now to our next game, and we go to Pasadena, California, the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl. Give me the Hoosiers. Indiana beats Alabama. Words that I don't know if I ever thought would come out of my mouth. That the Indiana Hoosiers, well, a couple things. The Indiana Hoosiers are in the Rose Bowl. Never thought I'd say that. The Indiana Hoosiers are the number 1 overall team in the country and got a bye in the first round of the playoffs. And number 3, well, they're playing Alabama. And number 4, yeah, they're 6.5-point favorites over Alabama. Whew. That's absurd. And it's great. I love it. It's hilarious. Indiana, Alabama in the Rose Bowl. There's not a team I'd rather Indiana play more. Yeah, you could have gotten Oklahoma, but this is the game I want. Alabama name, a team that is the most one-dimensional offensive team I've ever watched completely. An SEC school. And again, it's Alabama. When you think of college football, you still think Bama. I mean, sure, that's Nick Saban's legacy. That's what Saban did, obviously, not just for Alabama, but with college football. But this, again, Bama, when you think of dynasties in college football, you immediately think of Alabama. This is the team you want to beat. And guys, this is a passing of the torch in terms of legacy from one dynasty to the new dynasty in Alabama. In Alabama to Indiana. Chris Ignetti was on the staff in Tuscaloosa. Then he went to go to IU Indy in Pennsylvania. I think it was IU Indy or Indy in Pennsylvania, Indianapolis, Pennsylvania. Then he obviously went to Elon, then got a job. I think I got all the steps, right? Indy, Elon, and then obviously, oh my goodness, James Madison, I might be missing a step, and obviously now Indiana. But again, from the Saban coaching tree, Kurt Cignetti, you know he cares about this game. Well, obviously they do. It's a playoff game, but trust me, Cignetti's a psycho. He's going to want to blow this team out. And guys, that's what's going to happen. They're going to blow the Crimson Tide out. Absolutely. If Indiana beats, they did. Indiana beats Ohio State, they're not losing anybody for the rest of the season. Nope. Guys, they've already seen their toughest game. And their toughest game actually might reappear in the national championship game. It may be. We're going to be cheering for the SEC against Ohio State. I'm going to be honest with you. I'd rather play one of those schools than Ohio State in the championship game. But anyways, right, they've already played their toughest game. And they might see them again, but no game is going to be tougher than that Ohio State game in the Big Ten title game. Sure, a virtual home game for Indiana. Okay. I don't care. This is good, obviously in LA, Pasadena. I think the crowd's going to be pretty split. Does not matter. They've already played their toughest matchup against that offense and the talent on that defense. And let's start with Indiana on the defensive side of the ball against Alabama. Okay, well, they saw Julian Sand, they saw Carnell Tate, they saw Jeremiah Smith, they saw one of the best offenses in the country. A team that can run the ball on you. We just talked about it a couple minutes ago with Bo Jackson, right? They can run the ball on you, and they have success running the ball against you. Alabama doesn't run the ball at all. They are incapable of running the football. They win games because of their defense gets them out of spots and because of Ty Simpson. They beat Oklahoma, and I'll get to that in a second, but it's a team that's incapable of running the ball. Regardless if that's Jam Miller or Daniel Hill, they do not have a good running game. I mean, they have games where they run for less than 50 yards. You give Indiana a one-dimensional offense. Do we forget who's in the secondary for the Hoosiers? I mean, it's talent upon talent upon talent. And how about D'Angelo Pons? How about D'Angelo Pons, man? Oh, man. D'Angelo Pons is going to be I believe is going to be a first-round pick in the NFL draft. I mean, if he's not, I don't know why he's not. He should absolutely be that. They have so much talent in that secondary that just doesn't get talked about because of the, how great that offense is. And because of Fernando Mendoza winning the Heisman, they are underrated. I've said it all year long. I love the offense. Mendoza's great. That will they're a run-first team. I'll get to that in a second. But their defense is better. You may think Indiana's offense is great. Mendoza's great. He is. But I think Fernando Mendoza will be the first to tell you as well. No, their defense is better than their offense. It is. It is absolutely better. Which that goes a long way against a team that can't run the ball. Yeah, have fun with that. Have fun with that. I think if Indiana, they're going to, I believe, have Simpson in hell with pressuring him, sitting back in a coverage. I don't think Alabama can crack that code. I look at the Alabama receiving core, which actually is hurting Ty Simpson quite a bit. Jeremy Bernard, Isaiah Horton, all right, they have their nights. Ryan Williams is not playing at a high level right now. I think we can fix him in Bloomington next season, but that's neither here or there. That receiving core is just, right now. They don't run the ball. Defensively, they're good at times, and sure, they find a way to come back and beat Oklahoma. To me, that was more of an Oklahoma choke job than Alabama finding a way to win. Well, no, they found a way to win, but then Alabama coming back. Okay? Guys, think about how Alabama wins that game. Let's just think about it, by the way. Okay? They're out of it 17-0. They pull off another, Kalen DeBoer's, patented fourth down conversion. He's gotten one in the last two of the last three games. The last two games he's won. Kalen DeBoer's gotten huge fourth down conversions and big spots for touchdowns. Okay. Alabama blocks a kick, but it's not because, look at how they got through and, just power rushed everyone and blocked the punt. No, Oklahoma's punter dropped the ball. Oklahoma's kicker, by the way, who won the Lou Groza, missed 2 field goals in that game. And then John Mateer decided just to throw the ball at Xavier Brown for no reason. He just threw the ball right to him for a pick six to tie the game at 17-17. So there are just so many mistakes Oklahoma made that Indiana's not going to make. Alabama's lucky to even be in the spot. They were down 17-0. We were saying, this is going to be a blowout. And Bama, credit to them, found a way to win, but this team's not that good. They're not. I don't know. I truly think this is going to be a blowout. So we talked about the defensive side of the ball for Indiana. Stephen Daly being out sucks. Daly had the injury at the end of the Big Ten title game celebrating, which sucks. He tore his ACL. Whatever. But he's good. Daly's really good. Had 5.5 sacks this season. Was great. Probably our best defensive lineman. All right, Tyreek Tucker, time to step up. Tyreek Tucker, we know what Kalen Wyatt can do. There's players, okay? Kamara's great. We'll be fine down low, or down in the trenches. Offensively, Indiana, though. So Alabama struggles against John Mateer early. They find their way against him, sure. we're watching Ashton Daniels see some success. We're watching Georgia beat up on Bama's defense, and that's not their biggest problem, I understand, but against the best offense in the country? Yeah, have fun with that. Have fun with Mendoza. Have fun with Surratt. Have fun with Hemby. Omar Cooper's back. Omar Cooper has to leave the Big Ten championship game. He's healthy and playing. And how about Charlie Becker? From Nashville, Tennessee, as Gus Johnson would say, Charlie Becker has been so good for this football team. 6'4" sophomore who can run by you. What a huge, huge impact he has had since that Penn State game. I've known about Charlie Becker. Man, that dude's playing on Sundays in a couple years. Absolutely. So have fun dealing with all of this, and have fun dealing with a pro-style offense that the Indiana Hoosiers run that are run first. Mendoza's great. They're a run-first offense with Roman Hemby and Kobe Martin and Kalen Black. Kobe Martin plays some, but it's Kalen Black and Roman Hemby. They're a run-first team. And then, we go RPO. Let Mendoza throw now. Now we let Mendoza drop back and throw the football. I mean, teams are in hell when they play the Indiana Hoosiers. They are. And Ohio State limited them to 13 points. Again, bend don't break for Ohio State. Found stops in the red zone, found their way, sure. Indiana found a way to win, and they don't win if it's not for the elite quarterback play out of the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback and future number 1 overall pick in Fernando Mendoza. He's just that good. One of the best talents I've ever watched play college football. And I watched some good players. I've watched some great players. I watched Trevor Lawrence. I've watched some amazing guys, obviously play the quarterback position. And that's Indiana bias aside. I truly believe that's just how special Fernando Mendoza is. They're not losing the Rose Bowl, guys. Absolutely not. They've come this far. They're not losing to Alabama. And 6.5, I think, is very good value, too. I will say this. I would bet it 100%. Personally, I will not be betting it because I'm going to be so locked in on them winning the game. I don't want to even have to think about them having to cover. So I will not be betting this football game. Very rare in spots where I'm like, I'm so into the game. Like, I'm into these games, obviously, but I don't have a dog in the fight other than the fact that I'm picking a team to win. This one, I just don't want to bet it. There's no point. I'm cheering for the Hoosiers, and that's good enough for me. I have enough on this game. I don't need to put anything else on it. I've got enough riding in this one. I might be betting on the Hoosiers to win the national title, though, so there might be some on that, too. But that's neither here or there. I'm taking Indiana to beat Alabama. I don't think Alabama's going to be able to keep up offensively. And we didn't talk about, too, like, Ty Simpson played well in the clutch against Oklahoma, sure. Let's not forget how bad he looked towards the end of the year, though. Let's not forget about that. Indiana's going to win this game. Indiana's better than Georgia, and Alabama did not stand a chance next to Georgia. But the biggest factor in this game, personally, I know Indiana's going to score. I know Mendoza's going to do his thing. The biggest factor, in my opinion, is Alabama's lack of a run game. They're not going to be able to move the ball. I mean, Indiana can send 4, and they're going to stop the rush all game long. They're going to send 3, and they're going to stop the run, I believe. You're going to drop all these guys back into coverage. Ty Simpson may have some time. Where is he going to, no one's going to get open with that secondary. Again, Indiana's great. Their offense is phenomenal with Mendoza. The defense with D'Angelo Pons and company is actually even better. Give me the Hoosiers to win the Rose Bowl. I can't believe I'm saying this. The Indiana Hoosiers will beat the Alabama Crimson Tide in the Rose Bowl, presented by Prudential. But Indiana beats Alabama in the Rose Bowl, where they will see Texas Tech next week in, I don't know which one they're going to get. Probably Peach Bowl. Definitely Peach Bowl, because they're not going to want to put the SEC team in the Peach Bowl. So yes, Indiana moves on, and they will go to the Peach Bowl next week on Friday night. Oh boy. Okay, on to our next one, the final playoff game, and we still got games after this, don't get me wrong. I mean, come on. I know you're here for the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl between Rice and Texas State, so hold on. That one's coming soon. Premier matchup between Chase Jenkins and Brad Jackson, so hold on. But first, Ole Miss versus Georgia in the All-State Sugar Bowl from the Superdome, New Orleans, Louisiana, in the South. This is SEC country, and I'm going with Georgia to dominate Ole Miss. I am. Ole Miss obviously have full strength. They still have, OCs there. Obviously, Lane Kiffin now at Louisiana State. Trinidad Chambliss is playing before I think he's looking for an exemption for another year. I think he's going to get it, and I think he's going to be at Louisiana State, just as I think Kwan Lacey is going to end up in Baton Rouge next year as well. Doesn't really matter it does, but it doesn't really matter that much for this game. I think Georgia's going to run right over Ole Miss. I might sound crazy. I think they're going to. Ole Miss they do not have any experience in a spot like this. First playoff appearance. Yes, they won a playoff game. They beat Tulane. Guys, anybody would have beat Tulane in that spot. And I would argue almost every team in the SEC beats Tulane there. And this is coming from the biggest G5 defender imaginable. I love the group of 5. And I've been on record saying, like, I think James Madison was levels ahead of Tulane. If James Madison played Tulane, they would have won by, I think, at least 14 points, right? Like, I can't say all these SEC teams dominate James Madison. I can say they all beat Tulane. And yes, that includes, like, I think the only teams that would struggle against Tulane, in my opinion, would be South Carolina and Arkansas. Those, and Kentucky. Those games might be competitive. Actually, LSU would struggle against any G5 team, so them too. But other than that, like, I think Mississippi State handles them. I think Auburn probably beats Tulane, which is a little crazy, but I believe that. Again, G5 truther, that's not the same with JMU. Tulane, and this is why it was so horrible for the sport that Tulane got the home game in the American Athletic Championship game and beat North Texas. They are not that good of a team, but they found a way to do it, so good on them. They won. They lost 3 games, but I guess they beat Duke and Northwestern, so maybe they do beat, like, Florida. Maybe they would have, actually. Besides the point. I don't know how much I can put into Ole Miss's victory. Ole Miss spread against Tulane was one of the freest bets I've ever made in my life. I don't understand why the spread was like that, and this is coming from someone who picked Tulane to cover in the first game. I was so high on Tulane going into the first matchup against Ole Miss, but the second time around, I'm like, I've already seen this. And Ole Miss is only going to get better in the playoffs. Tulane's going to get worse. They're going to Oxford, which, in all fairness, is not the toughest environment to go play at in the SEC. Well, there's a reason Lane left this school, because he wanted a bigger stadium, wanted more funding. There's a reason for that, obviously. But this team's not, Tulane wasn't going to go to Oxford and win a playoff game. I mean, obviously. So that was one of the freest bets I've ever made. And Ole Miss made it look easy for their first 2 drives. They scored 14 points on 7 plays in 2 minutes. Absurd stuff. Now, they did kind of cool down as that game went on, and they found their scoring, obviously, but they kind of disappeared for drives. Tulane found their stops at points, and obviously Ole Miss really picked it up in the second half and ended up scoring and getting into the 40s in the second half, ultimately winning the game 41-10 as Jake Retzloff scored a late-game touchdown to cut the lead only to 31. But Ole Miss dominates. The problem is you're going from Tulane to the Georgia Bulldogs. We've seen this game once this season. Game was in Athens, and Georgia won the game by 8 points, 43-35. Georgia scored 17 unanswered in the fourth quarter to win the game. We went into the fourth with Ole Miss up by 9 points. And again, Georgia scores 3 times. They win the game 43-35. This game Ole Miss looked great in until they didn't. But again, Lane Kiffin's gone, which it doesn't change much because none of the players left with him. And obviously OC's still around and whatnot. But that does matter still. Like, again, just having Lane Kiffin around. Obviously, Lane Kiffin is a brilliant mind in the sport. Losing him really does matter. And Georgia's coming off an SEC championship victory. And I know, again, so far I've picked 3 teams that have gotten byes. And last season, all 4 teams who got byes in the first round of the college football playoffs lost. We saw Boise lose. We saw Arizona State lose. Oregon lost, as well as I'm blanking on the last team. Oh my goodness. I'll get back to you in a second. Arizona State, Boise State, Oregon, who was the 2 seed. I'm blanking. Big 12. Nope, that wasn't the Big 12. This is actually horrible. I swear I do this for a living. Oh, right. It was the Georgia Bulldogs against Notre Dame. How can I forget? Anyways, regardless, I am picking all 4 bye teams to win. I think last year's those teams weren't as good. I mean, that's right. Arizona State and Boise, they're both playoff teams. I'll say that. They shouldn't have gotten byes. Georgia ran into a Notre Dame team that was, red hot. They were just that good. And Oregon, Ohio State, well, that was a 50-50 going into it, and Ohio State beat them. Okay, whatever. It's different this year. Yes, these teams are off. I actually think in the long run, as we continue to see this format go on, I don't know. We'll see what the format becomes. 16, 24 teams. I don't know what it's going to become, but if we see 12 again next year, I do think the bye teams are going to continue to see more success. Obviously, because there's a reason they've been ranked 1 through 4. They are the better football teams, and 3 of them are favored this week, with the exception being, the Texas Tech Red Raiders against the Oregon Ducks. Georgia should beat Ole Miss. Georgia's coming off the SEC championship victory, obviously, against the Alabama Crimson Tide. Defense completely shuts down Ty Simpson. Simpson is in hell in that entire game because he doesn't have a run game. Yeah, I wonder what the Hoosiers are going to do to Alabama. But Georgia scores a touchdown every single quarter. Slow start offensively. And I think Georgia's passing game might continue to hurt them. I don't know. But the thing is, Gunnar Stockton just makes plays when you need him to make them, though. Like, he's not a crazy talent at the quarterback position at all, but he just makes the right plays. Takes care of the football. He's like a lesser version of Stetson Bennett, but that wins with Kirby Smart. That's all Kirby Smart needs to win football games and win championships. That's obviously what Georgia did this year in the Southeastern Conference. The run game, we know what they have. Nate Frazier, Gunnar Stockton takes it off himself, or takes the ball himself and runs with it. I mean, they've got talent. Georgia does what they do well. I mean, they know what they want to do, and they implement their game plan. They run the ball on you. They're going to make, big throws to stay ahead of the sticks. They're going to make plays on third down. That's just what the Bulldogs do. They're a very well-coached team, and they win games. Can't hate on it. I just don't think Ole Miss is ready for this. We saw a high-scoring game in the first matchup between Georgia and Ole Miss. I don't think we see it this time. I don't think we see that many points in the second meeting. I think Georgia's defense has gotten better as the season has gone on. Obviously, seeing that 7-point hold of the Alabama Crimson Tide. We saw them play a very defensively minded game against the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, holding them 9 points off. Offense only scored 16, which, again, the Georgia offense can hold them back sometimes, but gone are the days where they are playing 44-41 shootouts in Rocky Top against Tennessee. Gone are the days where they're playing Ole Miss to a 43-35 game. I think they're beyond that, and I think, honestly, offensively they've gotten worse, but defensively they've gotten so much better. So I think this game is going to play into Georgia's hands and play into what they've been doing recently. And that's likely a somewhat low-scoring game. I'm not saying it's going to be extremely low-scoring, but Ole Miss obviously will not be able to just work the ball downfield effortlessly like they did against Tulane. Like you thought, well, actually, Oregon and Ole Miss both had a lot of success moving the football. Ole Miss, actually, after the second possession, kind of struggled to move the football. Second possession, right? Because they punt, yeah. After the second possession, kind of struggled to move the football a little bit. Obviously, Oregon had no problem in that first half. Anyways, you go from that defense to this, that's trouble. It just is. I like Chambliss. He's never been in a spot like this. I mean, yes, he won a playoff game at home. You go from Ferris State to home playoff win to now you got to go to a sold-out building in Louisiana, who I know Ole Miss has fans. This is going to be a so pro-Georgia game. Believe me. It's a game in the South. Georgia fans, this is another year. They do this every single season. And sure, again, you might think, well, this is just bigger for Ole Miss. All the fans are going to come through. Well, they're not used to paying $280 to get into a building to watch a football game. Georgia does this every single year. They're in the South. They've been to the Superdome before. They've played games like this all the time. Georgia, in my opinion, all around is way more equipped to win this football game compared to Ole Miss. And I'm going to take the Georgia Bulldogs to beat Mississippi. I've always thought, and we said at the beginning of the playoffs too, like Georgia got the best hand. They were dealt the best hand going forward in the postseason. They got the winner of Ole Miss Tulane, and they avoid Indiana to the national championship game. 3 was actually probably the best position you could have gotten in the playoffs. And of course, it went to the SEC. Anyways, Georgia wins and beats Ole Miss, where they will likely advance to, likely advance to the Fiesta Bowl. I assume that's where they're going to put them. They can't put them in Georgia. So yes, they will go to the Fiesta Bowl to play the Ohio State Buckeyes. Should be a good one. But anyways, I'm going to go with Georgia to win and to cover the 6.5 against Ole Miss. Okay, so I know you've been waiting for these. I mean, who needs this when you got Rice versus Texas State? Come on now, all Texas matchup in Texas, in Fort Worth? Come on. It doesn't get bigger than this. In the Lockheed Martin Armed Forces Bowl, we've got the Rice Owls taking on the Texas State Bobcats. Again, an all-Texas matchup. Texas State is one of the biggest favorites in bowl season, though. Obviously not to the extent that Utah was favored in the Las Vegas Bowl over Nebraska, but a huge favorite is Texas State, again, in Texas, against the Rice Owls. There's a reason to this. There are very limited 5-win teams in bowl season. We're about to approach a couple of them in a second here. Well, this is one of the couple, but we talked about one last week, right, with App State stepping up at the last second for the bigger than hate game, larger than hate game, whatever the hell, against Georgia Southern. That game actually happened earlier today in the Birmingham Bowl, but there are very few 5-win teams that obviously get chances to play bowl games. Rice is one of them. They needed to fill out spots, and the Armed Forces Bowl is, let's just say how it is, a very low-priority bowl game, and I do believe it's somewhat difficult for teams who have already said, all right, season's over, we have 5 wins, we know we're not going anywhere, to all of a sudden turn the switch and say, oh, wait, okay, we're playing one more game, and yeah, you guys got to hang around now until January 2nd and practice all the way through, and we're playing Texas State in the Armed Forces Bowl. It's not that great of a sell. It's not. It's a tough sell, let's say, for Rice, who somehow at the American Athletic Conference has found a way into a bowl game. Not too many opt-outs. There are some opt-outs. I know their backup quarterback, Devin Devlier, is not playing. He will find a job next year, probably starting as a junior somewhere. Is that the group of fives at the FCS? I don't know. I assume Rice is going to have their quarterback. That's obviously Chase Jenkins. Chase Jenkins gets hurt with a concussion, gets knocked out of the game due to a targeting call against the USF Bulls in their last outing in Orlando. In Tampa, but that was in late November. So we expect Chase Jenkins to play. Jenkins is a sophomore. I assume he's going to be back next year. I've not seen anything about him entering the portal. So Jenkins will be playing this football game. He's all right. I mean, I think he's the best quarterback on the roster, but there are some players missing for Rice, but ultimately not that many, not as much as I would expect, but they do have some opt-outs, right? Texas State barely has anybody opting out of this game at all, so yeah. Texas State puts up 40s quite a bit. Like, the way Texas State doesn't win and they lose games is just the fact that teams can put up a bunch of points in them. Their defense is not very good. That has been well noted throughout the course of the season that Texas State has a pretty bad defense. We've seen teams like Troy score 41 points in them. Troy scored 48 on them. Like, listen to this 5-game losing streak Texas State went on. They were 3-6 at one point, and they won 3 in a row to get to 6-6 and make a bowl game. But let's see, they started the year 3-1. And listen to this losing streak: 31-30 loss against Ark State on the road, in Jonesboro. 48-41 loss at home against Troy in an overtime matchup. 40-37 loss on the road in Huntington, North Carolina against Marshall, again in an overtime game, in a double overtime game where quarterback Brad Jackson threw for 444 yards. 52-20 loss against James Madison, and a 42-39 loss against the Louisiana Raging Cajuns, who screwed us earlier in the bowl season in the Cure Bowl? Thanks for that, guys. Well, no, it was not the Cure Bowl. That was USF. Whatever. I forget what bowl game that was. That was the 68 Ventures Bowl. How could I forget? Anyways, Texas State scores points, though, and their defense is not very good. Last 3 games, they beat Southern Miss, they beat UL Monroe, they beat South Alabama, scoring 41, 31, and 49 in those 3 games. Yeah, Rice doesn't do that. They have a huge win over UConn. By far the best win of the year for them. They won 37-34 at home in double overtime. Listen to their other wins. Ragin' Cajuns by 2, 14-12. Prairie View A&M 38-17. Charlotte 28-17. And UAB 24-17. Ooh. Yeah. Last 2 games, you get blown out against good teams. But yeah, losing to North Texas 56-24 and losing to South Florida 52-3. That should kind of show us what should happen in this game. I've not seen anything about Brad Jackson leaving Texas State. I think if he wanted to, he could. He's a sophomore next year. Brad Jackson had a really good freshman season, threw for 3,000 yards. Probably best he stays 1 more year and then transfers out, because that's just college football now. We see a great talent in the Sun Belt and say, okay, when is he leaving? Texas State, though, has a future next year in the Pac-12, which is really weird, but yeah, I guess that's why Brad Jackson's staying and why these guys are staying. So there's a positive outlook going forward for Texas State because of where they're going to be next season in the Pac-12 in what I believe is going to be in between the group of 5 and Power 4, which should make for weird playoffs. I would expect the Pac-12 to probably get the playoff spot every single year. If there's only still one mid-major playoff spot, it's going to go to the Pac-12. But anyways, this team has something to look forward to. They've been expecting to play this game. Rice hasn't. And there's a reason Rice is this big of an underdog. They just get points put on them on top of the opt-outs they already have. Give me Texas State minus 11.5 in the Armed Forces Bowl, of course. How can I forget? Okay, next up, going to Navy. As Navy's going to Memphis, Tennessee to take on the Cincinnati Bearcats. Cincinnati is a 7-point underdog in this game. That's a little confusing. I know there's a bunch of opt-outs. I know Brendan Sorbsey's not playing, but they're that big of a dog here. We really think Navy's that much better than them. Obviously, we know Navy's got no opt-outs. They're a military school. Those, you have to serve the country, which, again, I give nothing but credit to those guys for doing. But, and the utmost respect, obviously. But you can't transfer unless you're Kanye Udo and you want to go to Arizona and live the life. So, anyways. Cincinnati versus Navy. Navy obviously has no opt-outs. Cincinnati does, the biggest of which, obviously, Brendan Sorbsey. Brendan Sorbsey is in the portal. I expect him to go to Texas Tech. His girl's at Texas Tech. That is the easiest giveaway. He's going there. I would have really liked Brendan Sorbsey to go play at Indiana once more, but I don't think he wants to be back there because obviously he kind of got pushed out. Kind of got scapegoated for the bad 2023 year, even though I thought Sorbsey was great and way better than Taven Jackson. But anyways, Sorbsey is back in the portal. He's going to go to Texas Tech before he goes to the NFL. And that's a great move, I believe, for Tech. So with that being said, obviously Sorbsy's not going to play the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, right? Obviously he's not going to play this game. Who's the backup quarterback? Likely, I believe it's going to be Brady Lichtenberg, senior quarterback who has been at Cincinnati 4 years. I believe they're going to give him the start. If not, it'll be Samaj Jones, who is the future, I guess, freshman quarterback who's played a little bit. I don't know. Maybe they'll do some of Jones. They'll play some of Jones. They'll play some of Brady Lichtenberg. Who knows? Still, on a backup quarterback, you don't think they can hold they can keep 7 points with the Navy? Navy almost lost to Army, which we saw coming. I thought Army should have, no, if you watched the game, you definitely thought Army should have won the game. Army makes some really bad decisions, Cale Helms and company, it's okay. Army should have beaten Navy. And yeah, Navy's played well down the stretch. They score a lot of points, but like, I don't know. And obviously they're a very explosive military school. I know that the Army game, they did not look all that explosive, but that's just the beauty of the Army-Navy game every single year. They're low scoring, just battles in the trenches every single night, every single game in a year in and year out basis. So we should expect more big plays for Navy, and they've had a great year, don't get me wrong. Blake Horvath has been phenomenal, 1,000 year in his senior season. This is his last game. He's been phenomenal. Eli Heidenreich, the greatest receiver in Navy history. At least in my lifetime, definitely. 900 yards receiving for a Navy receiver is absurd in his senior year. I mean, this is the end of an era with Navy football, with all these guys leaving. Blake Horvath gives the reins next season to Braxton Woodson, who will be in his senior season, who can get things done on the ground as well, but you're hard-pressed to find better passers at Navy in a very long time than Blake Horvath. At least in the last 25 seasons, there's not many better passers of the football than Blake Horvath has been at Navy. Alex Tezka has been great as well running the football. He's a senior. So you lose their big three essentially in Horvath, Heinrich, and Tezka, and we'll see what Navy can do next year to replenish that offense. But this is all their last games. I'm taking Cincinnati to cover 7 points. Cincinnati still has a great amount of talent coming off of their bench. They've got a lot of guys who have been waiting for an opportunity. We'll see about the opt-outs. Again, we know Sorbsy's not playing. I'm not completely sure yet on the opt-outs because I am recording this video fairly early and this game's on January 2nd. But I would imagine Cincinnati's going to have enough talent to stay somewhat competitive in this game. Will they win it? Probably not. But I do just believe 7 points is way too many for Navy to cover. At the end of the day, I know they're way more explosive this year in the past game with Horvath going to Heinrich has been huge for them all year long. I get it. I still think those are too many points for Navy to cover against Cincinnati. They got to win by more than a touchdown. Yeah, Sorbsy being gone really sucks. Well, Brady Lichtenberg's been waiting for this opportunity for 4 years. This is a guy who got to watch, was being recruited when, this is a guy, he was on, let me make sure of this. Yeah, this is a player who was on the Cincinnati Bearcats team when, he's an incoming freshman. I assume, it was with the program when they lost the Cotton Bowl to Alabama in the playoffs. He's seen things, and he's been waiting for one start, and he hasn't gotten it. Again, a player out of high school in Toledo who's never gotten an opportunity. He's going to be able to cover, okay? This is a guy who's been sitting on a bench for 4 years waiting for anything. I think he can cover against the G5's Navy midshipmen. Give me Cincinnati in the AutoZone Liberty Bowl to cover 7 points. On now to our next bowl game. Let's go to the Duke's Mayo Bowl. One of the classics, man. I want the Duke's Mayo Bowl to get better teams, though. With all due respect. Like, Duke's Mayo and the Mayo Bathian in the game with that hilarious Mayo mascot with the massive eyebrows that are just very hairy, but it's okay. This bowl game deserves to be even bigger than it is. It used to be the Belk Bowl or the Meineke Car Care Bowl. This was the Belk Bowl too, right? Yes. Meineke Car Care Bowl and the Belk Bowl. Now the Duke's Mayo Bowl. One of the best bowl games that just formats you can have. Again, that mascot, excellent, man. I'm taking Mississippi State to win the Duke's Mayo Bowl this year and cover 2.5 points. Yes, they're a 5-7 team and a 1-7 team in the SEC. And I know, SEC fans are going to love this one. Wow, our third worst teams winning bowl games. I hate that this is the case, but yes, I think they're going to beat Wake Forest. I think so. Wake Forest has quite a bit of opt-outs from what I've seen. I know that Mississippi State's got a bunch of opt-outs as well, but there are more opt-outs on the Wake side than there are on the Mississippi State side, and more meaningful players for Wake are opting out than Mississippi State. Mississippi State's got one hell of a... Ooh, man, there's a lot of opt-outs for them, too. Yikes. Yeah, you're going to see basically second and third string guys for both Wake Forest and Mississippi State playing the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Like my point earlier, the Duke's Mayo Bowl deserves a little bit better. Guys, Mississippi State ended their year, and this is bowl season, but it is what it is. Mississippi State ended their year losing 7 out of their last 8 games. And yet here they are in a bowl game taking on Wake Forest. Sure, I guess. Started 4-0, beat Southern Miss, beat Arizona State. Huge victory. They thought they won the national championship when they won that game. Beat Alcorn, beat NIU, Northern Illinois. And I will say this, and this is what I've always said about Mississippi State. And Arkansas too. They would give you hell every single week. Record-wise, and I'll just, focus in now on Mississippi State. Record-wise, they were not the best, but they were such a difficult team to play. Because they would score points. Blake Shapen would keep his team in the game. Fluff Bothwell at running back. They would keep their teams in it. We will see who plays, though, for Mississippi State. There's already an immense amount of talent who is not playing this game for Mississippi State. Who's going to play at quarterback? We've seen Blake Shapen get sat down earlier in the year. I believe he's not playing from what I have seen. Because I think Blake Shapen's playing. Yes, okay, Blake Shapen's not playing in the bowl game. He's playing in the Senior Bowl. I think Mississippi State would have wanted to start Kamario Taylor anyways, who's their freshman, who likely will start next season. We saw that Luke Kromenok, I believe is how you pronounce his name, third-string quarterback's already in the transfer portal. So it's pretty apparent that, because Kromenok was the starter, played some games at Florida State, Kamario Taylor's the guy from Mississippi State. Whether they go portal or not, I don't know. But Kamario Taylor's the guy, so he's going to be able to start the Mayo Bowl, the Duke's Mayo Bowl, against Wake Forest, who also has a bunch of opt-outs. I think Robbie Ashford's playing. I think. If he doesn't, obviously, well, Deshaun Purdy's the future of Wake Forest football, so they have, again, someone else. Ashford's just been okay this season. He's been all right. It's just, I'm not blown away. I've never been blown away with Wake Forest. Yeah, they're an 8-4 team, but an 8-4 team, this is horrible optics, man. And oh my goodness. A 5-7 SEC team is going to be an 8-4 ACC team in ACC territory. In North Carolina, Wake Forest's home state. It's just Wake doesn't play good defense. It depends on the game, but Duke scored 49 against them. I think Mississippi State's going to be able to move the ball with Kamario Taylor. I really think so. And I actually, this is going to sound so crazy. There's more talent on Mississippi State than there is on Wake Forest. If this is a Big Ten team, you wouldn't hear me say this. I don't know. If Michigan State played Mississippi State, I'd be on Mississippi State too. But here's the thing. The top of the SEC is still good. It may not be better than the Big Ten and other conferences. I mean, they're still great. They're still elite. The bottom of the SEC, I cannot deny this. The bottom of the SEC is really good. And I will make arguments for Big Ten schools. I think Michigan State could probably beat South Carolina. I think they probably beat Arkansas. Could they beat Mississippi State? Probably not. It's just Mississippi State is a very underachieving 5-7 school at the same time. And again, this is horrible optics for everyone who's not an SEC fan. And, I guarantee you, I don't know if you do this. There's a chance we're going to see a Lane Kiffin tweet. Go Mississippi State. He's not, I don't know. He's not doing that thing like he did last year. But the SEC coaches and SEC fan bases who do not give a damn about Mississippi State are going to be cheering for Mississippi State here because they want a 5-7 SEC team to beat an 8-4 ACC squad. And unfortunately, it's going to happen. Give me the Bulldogs. They got too much talent for Wake Forest, and I'm not blown away at all with Wake Forest, man. They struggled a lot scoring at times. I'm going to take the Bulldogs. Ultimately, it should be a high-scoring game. Whoever can score more points obviously wins, but I don't think Wake Forest is cut out to win a high-scoring affair that Mississippi State can put up. Give me the Bulldogs to win the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Our final bowl game of the year. We still have playoff games, obviously, next week with the Fiesta and Peach Bowls. But this is our final non-playoff bowl game. It is the Trust and Will Holiday Bowl. This was a lot simpler when it was the... Was this not the Poinsettia? No, the Poinsettia Bowl is its own thing. But was this not the Poinsettia Holiday Bowl? Maybe not. Well, I know the Poinsettia Bowl was its own thing. I'm taking too much time here. They really had 2 bowl games in San Diego for a while, didn't they? That's kind of crazy. But it was the DirecTV Holiday Bowl. There we go. I don't even know what Trust and Will is. Whatever. The Trust and Will Holiday Bowl between the Arizona Wildcats and the Southern Methodist Mustangs. I'm going to go with Arizona -3. Actually, -2.5. I believe the only bowl game Fox gets all year long. They've held on to this one, so good for them. They got the LA Bowl too, so good for Fox. I'm going to go Arizona to win this football game and cover the 2.5 points. The Wildcats went on a run at the end of the year. A run that I didn't really expect, and a run that I didn't bet on them, I'll be honest. I did not think they were going to go to Cincinnati and win. I did not think they were going to be able to go to Tempe and beat Arizona State. They passed both of those tests. And from everything we have seen, Noah Fifita is coming back next season. It makes sense. 4-year starter at Arizona. That will be his 4th year next year. Building up to another season next year. I think Arizona, from what I've seen, a lot of their guys are coming back next year. They've gotten guys to commit to Arizona Wildcats football. Why wouldn't they? Arizona's been building a very special program recently. So you're going to have guys who are excited to play this game with their starting quarterback who's going into his senior year next year against an SMU team who I believe does not have that many guys in the portal either, and a team that also is going to be relying on a senior quarterback next year in Kevin Jennings. So it should be a very fun game. Like Arizona a little bit more. Just the way they've been playing recently and the way SMU closed their season. Guys, SMU, they control their own destiny to the national championship, believe it or not, going into their final game at Cal Berkeley. And now, after Cal's performance against Hawaii, shout out to the Rainbow Warriors and Micah Alihado and Luke Weaver. What a victory for Hawaii. That was amazing. But Cal loses their two out of their last 3 games to Stanford and Hawaii. Who's the one team they beat? SMU. I just want to put that out there. That's the one game they lost. Or the one game they won. So I don't know what to say about Southern Methodist. They're a good team. I like them quite a bit. But that last game against Cal, and just the fact they couldn't score early, and yeah, they missed a field goal to tie the game, but defensively they were not great in that ball game against JKS, and they couldn't really move the ball that well early in the game either. Arizona's going to hurt you. Arizona's going to be able to move the ball game along. Defensively, they have looked so good towards the end of the year. They played some decent squads. I mean, Kansas to 20 points, Cincinnati and Brendan Sorbsey to 24, Baylor to 17, and Arizona State, albeit on a backup quarterback in Jeff Sims, but you're holding ASU to 7 points? That's big time. And Noah Fifita, who was not that great last year in Ted McMillan's final year, has gotten better without Teteroa McMillan. Obviously, I still believe Fifita's best year was his freshman year with T-Mac, but still, I don't know. This year's been good for Fifita. Fifita's been good in his junior year, man. 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 5 picks. It's a really good season for Noah Fifita. He's got weapons to throw the ball to. Neither of these teams, again, have many guys in the portal, or at least big players as of yet in the transfer portal. We know SMU's loaded at running back with TJ Harden, Chris Johnson, CJ2K Jr., Chris Johnson Jr., and Derek McFall. They've got great players, but I'm going to go with Arizona here, and that is really based on that final stretch, winning 5 consecutive games, and their L's are Iowa State on the road, BYU in double overtime where they kind of got robbed, and Houston on the road. They're tough games. They've won 5 in a row going into the spot, a huge victory in their rivalry game in that all-Arizona matchup with the Arizona State Sun Devils. And I like the Wildcats quite a bit to win this football game and cover the 2.5 points as well against SMU, who had opportunities, man. I mean, they probably wouldn't have gone on the road and beaten Ole Miss, but still, maybe. I don't know. Probably not. But who knows, right? SMU completely spoiled an opportunity to go to the playoffs for the 2nd straight year. I mean, I still think they're going to be somewhat of a powerhouse in the ACC for the next decade and longer, but they could have really cemented themselves as the top team in the ACC, back-to-back playoff appearances, ACC champion for the first time, and they fell short and lost, obviously, to Cal. And then Virginia fell short after as well, so nobody wanted to make the playoffs in the ACC. Anyways, I'm going to go with the Arizona Wildcats to win the Trust and Will Holiday Bowl at Snapdragon Stadium in San Diego, California. Give me Arizona -2.5 to get it done. Folks, thank y'all for watching our college football predictions for Week 19. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you did this great thing in the picks. We'll be back again next Sunday. Programming change Sunday next week for the FCS Championship game, the Fiesta Bowl, and the Peach Bowl. Of 3 games next week, and then obviously 1 more for the National Championship game. But I will see you guys next Sunday night or Sunday evening for our penultimate college football predictions video here for 2025, and I guess now on to 2026. Folks, thank y'all for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you did disagree with any of the picks. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba forever.